The city of Chicago is the third biggest economy in the United States, with a lot of sports teams, the Bulls, the Cubs, and the Bears. Let's talk about the Bears right now. They've been looking for a new stadium in the city, can't get the money to finance the Bears. And so, hey, there's been some talks that the Bears might even be relocating to another destination. But let's get back to the whole crux of today's video. Chicago is in debt. How much? $1 billion. Rewind. Now, to be honest, the migrant crisis in Chicago is not their fault. It's not Brandon Johnson's fault. It was a federal mandate. However, the city was paid to bring these migrants into the city, but the money was mismanaged.
Labor Day is over, the DNC is long gone, and it is back to reality for Chicago City Council members, and part of that reality is the aforementioned $1 billion budget gap and whether or not to raise taxes to plug it. Part of the spending bomb has been on the migrant crisis this year, and alders were briefed on the situation at City Hall today. They joined me afterward to debate what to do, and the conversation turned tense.
The bottom line is we've got to manage our money better in this city, and we haven't done it. And if you look at what happened, the state and the feds gave us funding for the migrant crisis, and it was mismanaged by the hundreds of millions. And that is part of the problem. So we can't keep going back to that same well, because again, the states and the feds are not going to keep giving us money when they see mismanagement of the funds. That's the bottom line.
I just want to kindly disagree. I don't think you get stamped.
There is no disagreement there. The governor pulled the plug on funding on places like Brighton Park because you were going to put a toxic or a bunch of migrants on a toxic waste dump. That is mismanagement of money. And that was a loss of tens of millions of dollars.
I think we need to watch the pronoun you, because this wasn't a Will Hall decision.
And that's 6th Ward Alderman Will Hall clashing there. He says the state and the feds should give the city more money. Now, the mayor's office has not proposed a way out, but alder people have different views. Some want the state and federal government to pony up more, as I said, and others are floating revenue-generating ideas like a tax on electric vehicles. And others still say this simply needs a friendlier business climate. The way out is through growth and technology.
In the city of Chicago, we don't manufacture. City government does not manufacture or sell widgets. We provide a service. And so we need to be taking a look at technology at the forefront in order to deliver that service. There's no reason why we can't use AI in order to help people navigate government, help developers get their projects approved quicker. The quicker developers get their projects done and shovels in the ground, the quicker we can realize that property tax revenue.
And now the aldermen in the city are kind of going back and forth, as you saw in the clip. And, you know, it's bad. If you're $1 billion in debt, you can't necessarily just blame the migrant crisis. Of course, that has hurt, but also the mismanagement of the funds. It's one thing to get money. It's another thing to mismanage money. And we all know that Brandon Johnson's administration was trying to hide how the money was being spent.
Now tonight, NBC5 investigates continuing to follow the money. Hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer money spent on the city's migrant crisis. Now, while the city has created a website to track migrant spending, our team found there are still many aspects of this that are just shrouded in secrecy. Here's investigative reporter Bennett Haberly.
As migrants begin to move out of shelters, invoices are still rolling in. The city of Chicago spent nearly $300 million on the migrant crisis so far, with more than $206 million paid to Kansas-based Favorite Healthcare Staffing, which staffs the migrant shelters. But not much is known about how these buildings are selected, or how much the property owners earn from lease agreements. Answering that is difficult, in part because of how the city structured its migrant operation.
It feels a little more translucent than transparent. Right, you'll get some information, but not the full picture.
The city's migrant spending website shows more than $45 million have gone to a Louisville company, Equitable Social Solutions.
That's where a number of those leases are.
Mayor Brandon Johnson's office says Equitable helps facilitate and identify shelters through the help of another company, ReloShare. For months, NBC5 Investigates has asked for copies of the leases for the 27 shelters the city operated. Through a series of Freedom of Information Act requests, we received just 9 agreements.
Now, if you're $1 billion in debt as a city, a major city, one of the things that a city can try to do is raise taxes. Now, That's something that most people are not gonna want to do. Chicago already has a lot of taxes. Illinois has high property taxes as well. And then couple that with the fact that many of the people in Chicago, or a lot of the businesses like Citadel, Tyson Foods, Boeing, have left. And the governor was asked about that in the state of Illinois.
Well, inflation and out-of-control gas prices are a nationwide economic concern. But here in Illinois, major corporations leaving the Chicago area have made headlines in recent months.
Our Dana Kozloff and Tim McNicholas sat down with the governor and his Republican opponent to ask about jobs here.
In the last few months, we've heard Boeing, Caterpillar, now Citadel are all leaving the state of Illinois. Are you concerned about, these major companies leaving? I know some are coming, but are you concerned about that? Do you feel that that's an indictment on your administration at all?
Look, I'm fighting for every job in this state to make sure that we're bringing jobs, creating jobs, new companies coming to the state. As you know, Kellogg's just announced they're moving a $10 billion headquarters to the state of Illinois. Lion Electric came and built a factory. They're building electric vehicles here. We've attracted hundreds of jobs from Boeing and hundreds more jobs from Caterpillar, even as they moved office personnel out of the state. More factory jobs coming to the state of Illinois. And I work every day to grow our economy. I don't like to lose any companies from the state or headquarters, but what I want is more jobs and more opportunity for our people.
So let's kind of get back to this whole situation. The city of Chicago and its current mayor, Brandon Johnson, and his policies have failed everyone. Now, if you have a $1 billion deficit, that means that your educational system is not going to be great, your police force is not going to be great, and your inability to do things is not going to be great. And if you're getting a lot of divestment out of the city and not a lot of investment into the city, you're going to have more problems. So where is this money going to come from? The federal government? Well, like one of the aldermen said, the migrant crisis, if the federal government and the state have already given you so much money to manage things and you're not doing very well, then why would they give you more money? And it's more or less not just a migrant crisis issue in democratic cities where African Americans are, it's a mismanagement issue. And then let's couple mismanagement with a lack of apathy towards African Americans. With all these problems and the migrants and crimes going up, you can't tell me that Democrats are going to fix this problem. It's just not going to happen. Every major city right now in America that is ran by Democrats are having the same issue. Eric Adams and a lot of his staff are also being investigated, not because of they're in debt $1 billion, because of some of the probable cause of corruption between nightclub owners and things like that in New York City. Basically under table payments. So you can't tell me that this mismanagement of funds has something to do with that too, with the migrant crisis in Illinois. Then you're not having your needs met as an African American in the city of Chicago. It just leads to more and more and more and more trouble. And so if it's not Brandon Johnson, then who else will it be? Anybody who's a progressive or anybody who's Democratic, they're going to continue to drive the debt in that city sky high. We're already seeing what's happening in cities like Dolton, Illinois, which is right outside of Chicago. Cook County is cooked, literally, okay? So then, again, the next best thing you have is investment. Where do people want to go if you're a business? Do you want to go to Illinois? Or do you want to go to Texas? No state tax. Would you like to go to Nevada? Or would you like to go to Florida? That's why everybody's leaving California. Everybody's leaving California, going to Texas and these other states. Republican states for the most part, that have some knowledge of what they're doing. And the reality is time and time again, these democratic cities that we keep seeing, they keep proving to us that they are incompetent. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode here on Kinganda. I'm out.